Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our Microsoft Entra Suite webinar series. My name is Amélie Darchicourt. I'm a senior PMM for Microsoft Entra, and I'm joined today by Janice Ricketts. So we continue to explore scenarios and use cases today with the Microsoft Entra Suite. And today, more specifically, we're going to share a very popular scenario, which is modernizing access to on-premises applications and removing legacy VPNs. So if you're joining us for the first time, first of all, welcome. We are at the episode number 3 of our Microsoft Entra Suite series. We've already broadcasted the first 2, and they are already available on demand. The very first one was actually an overview of the Microsoft Entra Suite capabilities, and the second one was diving into one of our key scenarios, which is how you can streamline employee onboarding and identity lifecycle with the Entra Suite. And just for previous episodes, this presentation today will be immediately followed by a Q&A with a full panel of product experts. So you can already start posting all of your questions in the comment section. All right. So again, anyone who is joining the webinar series for the first time, let me start with a very quick recap of what we covered in the previous episodes. And starting with an overview of what is included in the Microsoft Entra Suite. So as a reminder, Microsoft Entra Suite is a bundle of 5 different products across identity and network access. So we have Microsoft Entra Private Access, our zero trust network access solution, Entra Internet Access, our identity-centric secure web gateway, Entra ID Governance, our IGA solution, Entra ID Protection, our machine learning-based identity threat protection. And finally, Entra Verified ID, our privacy-respecting identity verification. So if you've been with us for the previous webinars, this should already look familiar. So when you're using the Microsoft Entra Suite, you're really able to unlock unique benefits. First of all, it's all about unifying zero trust access policies that reasons not only over identities, but also endpoints and networks, and really helps simplify overall zero trust architecture and eliminate any security gaps. The second one is really about ensuring least privilege access for all users to any app or resources, even including AI. The third is really around a much simpler and more consistent user experience. Doesn't matter where your employees are located, what type of resources they're trying to access from anywhere. And then the last one, but not the least, is really the ability to modernize and also reduce your on-premises security footprint. And now I'll hand it over to Janice, who is going to share more details about how to secure access to on-premises resources with the Microsoft Entra Suite and how to retire legacy VPNs. Over to you, Janice.
Thank you, Amélie. Hi, I'm Janice Ricketts. I'm a senior product manager in Identity and Network Access Customer Experience team, and I'm really happy to get into some details about remote access. Here we have a diagram showing all of the components of the Entra Suite and how they work together to improve your employees' access security. This is an architectural view of all of the products within Microsoft Entra Suite mapped to your environment and business processes. These products included in the suite help you address key scenarios along the identity and access lifecycle. These include streamlining the onboarding of all of your users, governing access for all employees and ensuring least privilege access across any app or resource, securing access to any app or resource with risk-based policies. Today's session will focus on providing secure, well-governed, and least privileged access to all applications, cloud and on-premises, for all employees. We're going to highlight specifically Microsoft Entra Private Access and Microsoft Entra ID Governance within Microsoft Entra Suite. Now we'll move on to our demo, Modernizing Remote Access. When you're extending modern cloud protection to on-premises applications, the first thing you need is private access. We'll show you how you can replace your VPN by enabling private access traffic profile and configuring segmented enterprise apps. We'll see where the traffic forwarding profiles are enabled, how to set up connectors, how to configure enterprise applications, and then we'll highlight how you can add network controls to your conditional access policies and use conditional access policies to protect on-premises applications with phishing-resistant MFA and device compliance. We'll simplify the user experience by automating what policies are applied to your employees, depending on their group membership, and how those policies change as they move between roles, thanks to lifecycle workflows. We'll show you how you can periodically review what kind of permissions are relevant and enforce least privileged access. We'll show you how to use system-based recommendations to continue to deny access to resources with access reviews. But first, we'll show how this looks for the end user. Irina showed you this demo in the first webinar of this series, but I want to make sure this is fresh in your heads before I show you the admin experience. In this demo, we're following Violet Martinez, an employee at Woodgrove who has recently moved to a new role in finance. She's already set up her access to the apps and resources needed for her new role. Violet is ramping up on her first project. One of her tasks is to prepare a summary of insights from the 20-year-old audit archives that are stored on a legacy file share. Previously, access to this file would require her to be in the office and would likely take a while to even get authorized. But Woodgrove has enabled modern secure access to any app from anywhere, and since this task requires focus, Violet decided to do it at home to avoid distractions. First, to get authorization for those archives, Violet goes to My Access portal, does a quick search for the Finance Audit Archives package, and requests access. Based on policy, in real time, her request is auto-approved, but for your organization, you can decide if you want to add a manual approval for such transactions. Now Violet goes on to open this file share. So we type in the access path to get to the file share, and from this moment on, everything works exactly like it would for any modern application. No cumbersome VPNs or any other limitations, except we do have just one more security measure to keep Woodgrove better protected. Because Violet has been traveling for her new role, she's been frequently changing locations, so her user risk level is slightly elevated. And because finance works with sensitive data, Woodgrove enforces risk-based conditional access for finance apps, even for low risk level. In response to the MFA prompt, Violet chooses her passkey, and it gives her yet another QR code, only this time the QR code will take us to Violet's passkey that she also stored in her Authenticator app. Passkeys make phishing-resistant authentication so simple. She clicks Sign in with passkey, and that's it. She's now ready to comb through those archived audit reports from the comfort of her home. That was a great reminder of the end-user experience that we want to enable. And another reminder. In last week's session, we focused on governance. We showed you how to simplify the onboarding of new users and ensure least privilege access for all employees when they join your company. We showed what this configuration looks like with identity governance and entitlement management, and through that process, users were given permission to access relevant job-related internal resources, which brings us to this next step, enabling remote workers to connect securely to the private applications they need in order to do their jobs. Historically, you just set up a VPN, but as we move forward to stronger security posture, we want to use a zero trust network access approach, which for us is Microsoft Entra Private Access. This configuration begins with enabling traffic forwarding profiles, then setting up a private network connector to provide secure outbound access to your apps, configuring enterprise apps to work with your private network connector, and then securing that access with a phishing-resistant MFA and device compliance conditional access policy. The next part you'll see in this demo is a mover scenario. So now we have this new user all onboarded, working successfully both remotely and in the office, and a little time has gone by. This user has decided to move from her marketing role to a new role in finance. The change is made easy and automatically by configuration of lifecycle workflows. We'll see that this entire workflow is triggered by changing a single attribute, the user's department. Now let's take a look at how we set that up with Microsoft Entra Suite. Let's start in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. We can see over on the left all of our configuration options, and at the bottom is Global Secure Access. Expanding Global Secure Access gives us the features we can configure within this product, and we're going to start under Connect. So we'll expand Connect, and we'll take a look at traffic forwarding. Under traffic forwarding, we see all of the different traffic forwarding profiles that you can configure for Global Secure Access, and we have 3. Microsoft Traffic Profile, Private Access Profile, and Internet Access Profile. And in this session, we're focusing on the Private Access Profile. If we take a look at user and group assignments and click on View, we can see that in this case, we've assigned this profile to all users, meaning that any user in this tenant who has the Global Secure Access client installed can be assigned to applications that are defined within the private access profile. In the next session, when we look at internet access, we will also see the internet access profile has been enabled and also assigned to all users. Next, we'll take a look at connectors. So we're going to scroll down to the connectors option. And at the top, we can see an option to download the connector service. This works a lot like App Proxy. So we're going to download a connector service to our VM that has line of sight to our enterprise apps. And once we've installed it, that will install the connector here in our Entra Admin Center. In this case, we can see an App Proxy 2 connector has been configured under the North America App Proxy group and that it's currently active. And these are the connectors that broker that outbound access for our clients to be able to connect to your private resources. So next we'll configure applications. We could have configured quick access for VPN replacement, but now we're really on our zero trust journey. So we'll click under enterprise applications and we can see that there are several already defined. We're specifically interested in the marketing dashboard. So we'll click marketing dashboard. And there are a lot of properties here that we could browse, but really what I'm interested in is network access properties. So click Network Access Properties, and this is where we've defined the application segments that will be associated with this enterprise app. So here we see the connector group is the North America App Proxy group that we just saw a couple of minutes ago. And we can see the app segment that we're going to acquire is a fully qualified domain name for the sales dashboard on port 443 and TCP protocol. But if I go back to enterprise applications, I can also see the internal file share is configured. And if I click on this and do the same thing, take a look at the network access properties. I can see the application segment defined here is also a fully qualified domain name. And this one will pick up packets that are destined for this particular App Proxy 2 fully qualified domain name on TCP port 445. And they'll also be routed by the North America App Proxy group. So now that we have the traffic profiles enabled, the connector configured, and enterprise apps configured, let's take a look under protection at conditional access and see how our conditional access properties are configured. Here I can take a look at the policies list on the left. And I'm looking for the policy CA5, private access policy. And here it is. And I just want to walk through the configuration of this conditional access policy. It's just like any other conditional access policy. Here we're going to see what users are included. We see we have finance and marketing groups are included. So all users in these groups are going to be subjected to this conditional access policy, specifically when they are trying to open these target resources. And here again, we can see internal file share and marketing dashboard as the two private access applications that we just saw a minute ago. We're going to grant access to these applications for these users only if they're using phishing resistant MFA and only if they're using a compliant device. So next we're going to have a look at how to configure a workflow for this job change that removes the user from marketing groups and teams and launches an access package to provide new groups and teams memberships. Again, in the Entra Admin Center, we expand identity governance, we click lifecycle workflows, and we can see on the landing page some overview information about lifecycle workflows, how often they're running, what's the schedule. What I'm interested in is a specific workflow. So I want to click on workflows on the left. And in the list, I'm looking for the marketing to finance employee job profile change. Another overview tab to show the schedule, what this particular workflow is intending to do. I can run it on demand. I can disable it. What I really want to see now are what tasks are going to run when this workflow is triggered. And I can see that there's 4 tasks. The first one's going to send an email to notify this user's manager of their move. So if I click this task, I can see that the manager mail attribute is selected. And if I click up on email customization, I can configure the email that's going to be sent to this manager when this user's profile is triggered. I can remove a user from selected groups. In this case, one group is selected. We're going to remove this user from the marketing group. I'm going to remove the user from the marketing teams. So just like with removing from groups, one teams is selected. We can see the marketing group team is here. And now that the user has been removed from these groups and teams, we can request a new access package. So clicking the access package option, I can see that the finance team business app is selected. And I can click that and choose other access packages if I want to as well. I also see the initial policy is set. The task is enabled. So to configure the execution conditions, on the left, we see under tasks, execution conditions. I see the trigger attribute is department. And if I click the drop-down list, I can see a long list of other options I can choose for the trigger attribute. I can then move on to scope details and see that the specific value that that department needs to equal for this to be launched is finance. So as soon as the department property equals finance, this workflow will be triggered. Finally, I can take a look at workflow history, and I can see over the last 7 days time span all of the different users who have moved from marketing to finance and therefore triggered this workflow. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access is a powerful access policy engine that allows you to define policies that control who can access what, when, where, and how, and it can enforce those policies in real time based on the needs of your organization. Together with Microsoft's solution for Security Service Edge, Conditional Access enables you to enforce granular access controls to move you toward a more secure security posture. For example, you can create a policy that requires users to sign in with multifactor authentication when they access sensitive resources from outside of your corporate network. Or you can create a policy that blocks access to certain applications from unmanaged devices. Conditional access works by evaluating the context of each sign-in attempt and enforcing the appropriate policy based on the conditions you specify. The context includes information such as the user's identity, the device they're using, the location they're signing in from, the application they're accessing, and the risk level of the sign-in. Based on these factors, conditional access can grant or deny access or challenge the user for additional verification. In today's complex, modern work environment, conditional access provides protection without compromising productivity. With global secure access, you can now also apply conditional access policies to network access. And you might be asking yourself, what exactly does this mean? It means that you can expand conditional access to all resources, including devices, servers, legacy apps, the internet, and even non-federated SaaS apps. You can enforce network security policy in addition to access policy, and you can leverage extended conditional access conditions, including new controls such as compliant network and location. Enabling you to retire your legacy VPN and move to zero trust network access is a key scenario for Microsoft Entra Private Access. We are giving you a way to migrate quickly and easily from your legacy VPN to an identity-centric ZTNA solution. We enable this with our feature Quick Access. With Quick Access, you can easily configure broad private IP ranges and fully qualified domain names to essentially duplicate your VPN scenario so that you can remove your VPN and start defining your private resources as enterprise applications. This enables you to achieve a quick first step towards zero trust network access, providing access to your private resources to all of your employees with minimal configuration by starting with broad access that mimics your existing VPN. You have the flexibility to define your resources by using IP ranges, IP addresses, FQDNs, and wildcard suffixes, allowing you to easily onboard individual apps to Microsoft Entra Private Access. What we are really trying to accomplish is a stronger network security posture. We want to minimize the risk of lateral movement by replacing legacy VPNs that give access to the entire network with identity-centric zero-trust network access. Microsoft Entra Private Access does just that by establishing individual tunnels for each user-to-resource access. This means that you can segment your traditional network-based access to specific private apps, such as RDP. Instead of having one access profile for all private applications like a VPN provides, you can create multiple definitions of your applications by defining global secure access enterprise apps. You can then apply conditional access policies to each global secure access enterprise app, giving you a powerful and fine-grained way to secure your private resources. Microsoft Entra Private Access offers broad application support. It provides zero trust access to all apps and resources and enables control via conditional access policies. Users can connect to web apps, printers, file shares, basically all TCP and UDP-based protocols, including RDP, SSH, SMB, and FTP. It also offers support for various single sign-on authentication modes, including SAML, Kerberos, integrated Windows authentication, header-based authentication, and forms-based authentication. And to make it even easier for you, we offer the App Discovery feature, which integrates with Quick Access as an application segment discovery mechanism so that you can see what app segments your users are connecting to. And with one click, you can onboard them to enterprise apps. Microsoft Entra Private Access enables your managed client devices running the Global Secure Access client to establish a connection to the Microsoft Entra Private Access Service Edge. Within this connection, users access resources on your private network by establishing individual microtunnels. Packets addressed to app segments defined in your Quick Access or enterprise applications are picked up by the Global Secure Access client and then routed over Microsoft's private global wide area network to the connectors you defined in the Entra Admin Center. Conditional access policies are enforced in the cloud service, enabling you to enforce things like authentication strength and device compliance. We also enforce universal continuous access evaluation to your private apps and resources, and I admit this is one of the features of Global Secure Access I find most exciting. Continuous access evaluation detects certain circumstances, such as user termination or a network change to an untrusted network location, and then revokes the user's access at the network level to keep your apps and resources safe. With Global Secure Access, we can apply this detection to all of your private applications. The final topic that I want to touch on is access reviews and recertification. Access reviews and recertification complement entitlement management and lifecycle workflows that we saw in the demo earlier in this session. Access reviews ensure that users only have the access they need. It ensures that access to sensitive applications, teams, groups, and roles are all periodically reviewed, and access is removed when necessary. With access reviews, you can manage users assigned to groups, enterprise applications, access packages, and privileged roles to make sure they maintain a security standard. To help reduce reviewer attestation fatigue, access reviews use machine learning to provide intelligent recommendations. Your approval workflows can also be customized and configured for multiple approvers. You can also gain more insight into access reviews for audits and compliance by downloading an access review history report. These reports can include specific access reviews for a specific time frame and can be filtered to include different review types and review results. So this brings me to the end of this session. To recap, we walked through the steps to modernize remote access with Microsoft Entra Suite. We saw how to replace your legacy VPN by configuring the private access traffic profile and then setting up segmented app access by using Microsoft Entra Private Access. We also saw how to enforce least privilege access and secure access with enhanced security controls by using conditional access policies. We saw how to secure access for a user moving from a marketing to a finance role by using lifecycle workflows. And we saw how to manage risk and meet compliance for your users and workload identities by leveraging system-based recommendations available in access reviews. By enabling these scenarios of Microsoft Entra Suite products, you can modernize remote access and ensure secure access without compromising your employees' productivity. In the next session, we'll walk through a deep dive for how to secure access to all of your internet resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janice. That was awesome. So before we jump into our Q&A and answer all of your questions, I'd like to share some additional information with you. So first, if you want to try the Microsoft Entra Suite, you can start with a free trial today. You can find it at akms/Entra Suite trial. You can also find technical documentation and deployment guidance on MS Learn at akms/Learn Entra Suite. And finally, and as always, the tech community is the place to go in order to find all the latest and greatest product announcements and news for Microsoft Entra. And in our next session, we'll focus on how to secure access to internet resources. So also, again, if you missed our previous sessions, don't worry. They're all available to watch on demand. They are usually released about a week after the broadcast. And now our colleagues are going to join us for a Q&A. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super happy to be here and to connect with you and answer all of your questions. So I'm Emily. I'm here with Janice and I have the pleasure to also have Marilee and Martin joining us for a full panel of experts. So before we jump in and start answering all of your questions, Marilee and Martin, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, thank you. I'm Marilee. I am a product manager working in the Entra Suite space, and I mainly work on helping customers with their deployments. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Martin?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Martin Kutzer. I'm also a product manager working with customers, trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, and then trying to get you deployed. So we are happy to be here and answer your questions.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you can see you're in good hands, so you can continue to post all of your questions in the chat. We already have a few, so we're going to just jump right in. So, Janice, I'm going to start with you because I think you touched on that a little bit in your presentation. But what is the significance of tightly integrating identity and network security through conditional access?
That is such a great question. And in fact, the opportunity to integrate network controls with conditional access is one of the most significant motivations behind developing global secure access. Conditional access is widely loved. Most customers use it, love it. It enables them to granularly define the conditions that must be in place before their users can access a resource. And we just saw some of that in the demo a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But GSA takes this a step further and enables you to control that access at the network level. And that is so exciting. We saw it in the demo. The resources we target are GSA enterprise apps. These are network level app segments. They're not the actual traditional applications. And it's a total game changer, especially for protecting on-premises apps and resources. My favorite example is the ability to control access to on-premise resources with risk-based controls. You can configure a conditional access policy that requires additional authentication if a risk signal changes. And you can do this because GSA works with universal continuous access evaluation and conditional access policies, and it can interrupt your network connection. There doesn't have to be any awareness of this at the application itself.
That's wonderful. And actually, we have another question. I think it's connected. So, Janice, I'm going to ask you again, but Martin and Marilee, please jump in. How does a unified solution that provides both identity and network access as one platform helps in streamlining network modernization and also simplifying IT environments?
That is another great question, Amelie. And I think this speaks to sort of the two schools of thought. Is it better to pick and choose preferred products from multiple vendors, or is it better to go with a single vendor solution? And I would say the answer for this is dependent on your own priorities, your corporate priorities. Certainly going with one platform like Entra ID enables efficiencies in many areas, can simplify skilling requirements for your users, administrators, and support personnel. It simplifies logging and reporting, increases an opportunity for co-pilot support and integration, as well as reducing or eliminating the time and effort associated with systems integration. These products in Entra Suite are all designed to work together, and that does bring a lot of advantages.
Yeah, and what I would add as well is, I just want to touch a little bit on system integration. So with you having to go to all these different systems and hoping that anybody else will do the right thing is a bit of a gamble sometimes because it's a completely different department. So with this approach, everything is enabled inside the same place. And with conditional access, that is your one and single policy that will ensure access to that application. And you don't have to rely on another system and another team that they do the right thing to give access to that application. So this gives you a lot of ability to relax and think about, how your system is configured, because everything is configured in the same place with your conditional access policies.
Yeah. And I mean, and also another aspect, I guess, is the user experience, right? By combining all of that, you make sure that it doesn't matter what type of application employees are trying to access, the user experience is consistent across the board. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we have another question. I think, Marilee, I'm going to give this one to you. Can you elaborate on how Microsoft Entra Private Access helps to replace legacy VPN with ZTNA? Where and how can we start? Quick access.
Thank you. That's another great question because getting to ZTNA is definitely the ultimate goal, but it can be pretty daunting sometimes to figure out how to start and how to get there. So the first thing you want to do is configure quick access. And as we saw in the presentation, this is essentially duplicating and publishing your entire network. So much like a traditional VPN. And then from there, you add application segments to your enterprise applications, and this gives you that much more granular level of control. So with a traditional VPN, you would give users access to everything in the network. And there's some risk there because you might, for example, want to protect a file share and apply MFA for a user accessing a file share. And now we can do that. And also with a traditional VPN, if you have a user um, accessing the resources in your network, even if you apply MFA to that user as they're authenticating, that only happens at the authentication, at the initial authentication, and then they have access to everything.
Yeah.
Whereas here, integrating conditional access is a complete game changer, and you can really apply that more granular level of control.
Wonderful. And then we have another question where I think, Marilee, I'm going to ask that one again to you. What are the key advantages do you see or you expect by using a ZTNA or private access solution from an identity platform provider?
This is a great question as well. I think Martin and Janice touched on this topic earlier, but wanted to add a little more to this. So when you have siloed solutions, it creates a lot of security gaps when you have siloed solutions and siloed policies. So, and not only does it create some security gaps, it also um, isn't the best end user experience and isn't the best experience for the admin either. Whereas here, when we have both the identity and network management consolidated in one place, we can manage all of our access control policies in one pane. And we also get the great insights that we have from Microsoft Entra, where we have detailed logging and everything in one place. So you have everything simplified, but you also have much lower costs and a much better end user experience. So a lot of advantages here.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we shared that a lot in all of the different webinars, but again, right, like we have great resources available, and especially for our global secure access solution. So at akms/GSA deployment guides, you can find a lot of very detailed, like technical guidance on how to deploy those solutions. Martin, you were going to add something.
Yeah, I just want to add, it's very important for people to understand the principles of zero trust. And those three principles that we always highlight when we talk about these solutions is you have to ensure least privilege. So you don't want to give people more access than they actually need. So that is a very important principle. And you can see that in the demos that we did, we only gave people specific access to a specific application segment or using a specific group. You don't give people more access than they need. Another principle is verify explicitly. This is exactly what we are doing. We are verifying explicitly when you're accessing this application because we're doing this at the identity level and the network level. So you are not getting access to that thing because you just came in from outside. You are being verified explicitly. Your identity is ensured. And then the final thing that is very important is to assume breach. And so this is a very important principle in any organization for zero trust. And I want to actually, I share a link with people as well to give them more information on how to go and look at these zero trust principles and make sure that they adopt these in the environment. And so if they go to that link, it is aka.ms/zero trust guidance. We'll bring up the link in a second, but this is will show you how to think about how to implement these security principles. So just repeating aka.ms/zero trust guidance and how you should ensure that you always adopt these zero trust principles.
Yeah, that's a very good reminder. Thank you so much, Martin. We got also a question, an interesting one. How do we allow external users to access my enterprise application securely via Microsoft Entra private access? Who wants to try to go ahead, Janice?
I can take this one. Yeah, we actually, so today, if you have external clients that you need to access internal apps, we have App Proxy. App Proxy enables you to connect to web apps that are internal. It does not enable you to connect to any other kinds of apps that are internal. So what private access enables is that connectivity to all of those other apps through that private tunnel. So I think you're asking, when can these external users use the private tunnel to connect to non-web apps, which we can't do today, but we have a lot of exciting work happening here. The roadmap for this is really cool. And I just invite you to stay tuned, keep your eye on when we have public previews. There'll be some really great announcements. We usually time them around big Microsoft events. So look for these announcements around Secure and Microsoft Ignite. Those kinds of events. But yes, it is coming. So thank you for that great question.
Yeah, and one clarification too, right? Like the products within the Microsoft Entra Suite are made specifically for in securing access for employees, right? So external users are covered also. Scenarios for external users are also covered by other product within the Entra portfolio, specifically external ID. Awesome. So another question, Martin, maybe for you. How important is it to have MFA or conditional access capabilities for on-prem applications? That's a good one.
Yeah, no, this is very important. So obviously, if you think about it, for many, many years, you didn't have this opportunity to do something like this. If you access that application, it either had its own login mechanism or it used old-fashioned legacy authentication protocols, and that's the only option that you had. You had to authenticate using the way that was available to you to authenticate to that directly. But now, with this capability of global secure access and MFA and conditional access, you can ingest the MFA process as part of that connection. So now all of a sudden, you can add MFA capabilities to that very old legacy applications. Can you imagine something like a mainframe that is just a terminal screen, or some other old legacy application? It was impossible to do MFA, and therefore a bit unsecure, because we know what happens to passwords. People share them and so on, and then they get access to things that they shouldn't get access to. But by implementing global secure access, you can now put MFA in that path and make sure that people do a MFA before they access that application. And this just greatly increases your security in your environment and removes that ability for people to share passwords and lower your security. So this is a really important capability that it's not a lot of work to do. Janice showed us how to do it, and now it's possible to do something like that without touching that application and doing something strange in that application directly.
Awesome. Janice, I think you talked about App Proxy. We actually have a question for it or related to it. How is Microsoft Entra Private Access different from Entra Application Proxy, both regarding the functionalities, the licensing, and also, can I reuse my App Proxy connectors and groups for private access, or will I need to install another connector? Janice, do you want to take that one? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. We get that question a lot because it does feel confusing. How are these things different?
Yeah.
Why are they different, basically? And actually, there's two good answers there. The first answer is licensing is different. App Proxy is included in existing licenses. Obviously, private access is licensed individually or as part of Entra Suite. We know that App Proxy, as we said a few minutes ago, enables access to web apps. It does not enable any kind of access to non-web apps. So those are the two big differences there. But if you already have a big App Proxy deployment and it's working well for your users, and maybe you have external users using it, you can just leave that there. That still works. You can see all of those app proxy connectors in the GSA connectors portal. They're all available to be connected to. If you are looking for, can I use my existing app proxy connectors as private network connectors? The answer is also yes. It is the same code. It's the same download that is installed in both cases. The only thing you would need to do differently is ensure that those users are your managed users on managed devices with the GSA client installed, and you will have to create enterprise apps or some other way for those GSA clients to know what to pick up so that the service can know to tunnel that request through GSA rather than just via the app proxy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, we have a quick question about roadmap. So I just want to clarify that I would say the best spot to find any information. So the question was, do we have a link to the roadmap, the Entra Suite roadmap? So the best place to find any information about roadmap is really to look at our blog. So that's where you'll be able to keep up with all the product announcements that we have. And then obviously, yes, you can find it at akms/entrablog so much. And obviously, you can get in touch with your Microsoft representative if you need more details and more discussions around roadmap. We would be able to answer those questions as well through your representative.
Yeah, and I want to just also add that you have to look out for all the new preview things that light up in the admin center. So there's always a banner that says, oh, when you want to try this functionality, and then that is a public preview and you can start using it. So that is another great way to see what's happening and what's coming as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. All right. And then I'm not ready to buy a suite today, like the full suite, but I'm interested in private access. Is it possible to purchase only this product? I can give it a crack, but anyone can add information, right? So I think, yes, you can buy just private access if that's the only product that you're interested in. Each of the products available in the suite are purchasable or available as standalones. Obviously, you saw that all of those products are highly integrated and really like working together. They really unlock like a whole new set of scenarios. So we highly recommend going with the full suite, because that's when you'll be able to really unlock the full potential of the scenarios that we've been showing for the past 3 weeks. Anyone wants to add anything here?
Yeah, I want to just reiterate what you said there is, if you just want to buy private access, that's all and good, but you're gonna miss out. There's so many other features available in the rest of the suite that really helps you meet your zero trust requirements. That least privilege access, and you want to make sure that people only maintain the right access for a short period of time, that they don't overstay their welcome with that permission, to put it like that. That needs ID governance. And so these things go hand in hand. They go hand in hand, and you want to make sure that the application segments that you specify in your global secure access is backed by those entitlements that will ensure that people only keep the necessary access that they need, and they don't accumulate access over time, and they become bigger and stronger, and we never look at them again. So you want to do these things together so that you can have those zero trust principles and you ensure least privilege on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just add one more thing too. The price discount is really staggering, to be honest. If to go from buying these products individually to buying as a suite, there's a huge price discount. And even if you really in this moment aren't thinking about those other products, at least do a trial and have a look, because I do have customers who were only looking at private access, and they had another product for internet access in a side-by-side scenario. And now they're looking at governance, and they realize because they want private access and governance, maybe they can also implement internet access. And now they're really going to start saving, because when that other vendor's contract expires, it's just included. Secure Web Gateway, you'll hear all about it in the next session, but it's really worth having a look at all of these systems together and thinking about maybe what you hadn't already been contemplating for your own security posture.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll share one last time also the trial, because you mentioned it, Janice. It's a very good point. If you want to get started with the Entra Suite, you can start with a free trial. It's available at akms/Entra Suite trial. And you can just get started with all 5 of the products that are included in the suite for up to 90 days, I think. All right. I think we have time for one last question, because we got one more in the chat. It is Microsoft Security Service Edge SSE solution supported globally? Martin, do you want to maybe tackle this last one?
So this is a good question, but also I need to clarify with like globally. Yes, this product is available globally. It's Microsoft is a worldwide service. You can use it anywhere in what we call our commercial cloud. So if you are, down in Australia, or if you are anywhere in the world, this is available and you can use this functionality now. However, we do have some places where, for example, we have these what we call sovereign clouds, or we have specific clouds that's dedicated to specific government instances. And some of these are pretty secret, and there's a barrier to deploy these services in there because we have to meet specific certification requirements. So we are working through those. And if you one of those customers that are using a sovereign cloud, or you in a government cloud, then the best thing is for you to come to your Microsoft account representative and ask them what is the roadmap for enabling this feature in that cloud. Because it is different for everyone, and we want to make sure that we comply with the requirements of, say, that country or that government institution, so that we don't, make sure that there's any security leaked. And we want to make sure that we comply with the regulations of that. So commercially, it's available everywhere in the world, but there may be certain cases where you want to work with your account group so that we can help you get it in those special clouds if you are one of those customers.
There's some pretty cool stuff about the global deployment of Security Service Edge around the world as well. It is co-located in data centers with Microsoft services. And we are seeing, anecdotally, we're still working on performance numbers, but we're looking like it's even a better performance when you're connecting to our Microsoft tunnel and Microsoft applications through Global Secure Access. And we didn't really talk a lot about Microsoft applications in this session, but I encourage you to investigate that, because securing your traffic to SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, et cetera, is traditionally a little bit challenging. That's a very data heavy kind of flow. So co-locating with those services in data centers around the world is an important differentiator for Global Secure Access.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Wonderful. Well, I think that's with that, that's the end of our Q&A. We don't see any more questions, but if you continue to have more questions as you watch or rewatch this session, please don't hesitate to continue posting them on the chat. We obviously monitor this chat, and we will make sure to get back to you with all the answers that you need. Marilee, Janice, Martin, any final thoughts or advice or comments that you want to share with our audience today?
One final thought I just want to echo is really the beauty of this solution is the conditional access integration. This is actually a complete game changer because it gives you that granularity and control, and you can apply MFA to these private access apps. And we found, the recent study even found that just enforcing MFA prevents 99.9% of attacks. So it's a very simple step using these enforcements, and now you can apply that protection to your private apps and have that granularity.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this is like I couldn't say it better. It's a game changer. It really makes a huge difference for your organization to be able to say, oh, I have all these legacy applications. I don't know what to do with them. I need them to run my business, but I want to become a modern security company and secure them. this private access capabilities allows you to get to that point where you can sleep better at night and know that you are secure. And so this is really what we want customers to do, and know that they've secured those applications, and they will be able to move forward, maybe move those applications to the cloud. But this buys them time to make sure that they don't have those security holes in their organization.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, everyone. And thank you, everyone online, for joining us for today's session. Again, we have one last webinar next week, and we will be covering internet access with Permiti. So you can continue following us and watching this series. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.